Ryan, back from vacation. Ryan, how did your vacation go?
Oh, that word vacation, it's a wonderful thing, but when you take young kids with you, it's more like a trip, Yeah, we had a great time. We got to spend time on a beach and just relax and play a lot, so it was fun.
How about it's called a playcation, because, playing is hard work when you're the parent, because you have to supervise and make sure they don't get in trouble. But it's not really a workation. You're not working. But a playcation can be, I remember when I had our young kids, and it's great because we're going up this weekend for Father's Day to Portland to visit some grandchildren and my oldest son and his wife. And I think it's funny when you're a grandparent, it's better because it's like rent a kid. When you're the parents, you're always on duty.
Yes, it always falls back to you. But we had a great time, and you know what? When we talk about the NutriMedical report, just continual props. That we were off in Mexico, and you always want to be cautious a little bit more in a foreign country, because of different things you're exposed to. And we ate a lot of different places, and the sanitation, the water filtration is obviously improving in many areas of the world, which is a wonderful thing, but also you still get exposed to stuff and airplanes and all that. So, taking these things where we talk about, the living probiotic ultra and NutriImmune, things like that just keep our whole family doing really well while we're traveling, where sometimes you're with other people and they don't do so well, and because they don't necessarily have access to the same information and the same,
I think we talked about it a few years ago. You were over in Haiti doing some volunteer work after they had that big earthquake, and you had taken Living Probiotic Ultra, and a lot of your other colleagues didn't take it. They got dysentery. It was not a pleasant deal, but you didn't get sick.
Yeah, no. Well, you know what? We all ended up. We were kind of in a facility where you're thinking you're in a kind of safe area, and they're hosting foreigners to come in and help, obviously, with things. But one night they served lettuce, and you just don't think about it, because in the U.S., obviously, you can just have salads. It's one of the top things anybody eats in the United States, always.
Right.
And so you just don't think. You put it on your plate, you eat it. Whoever ate the most lettuce basically got the most violently ill. So we know it was something pretty major in there. And for me, I felt sick, but I had already been using, as you say, the NutriImmune, the Living Probiotic, even beforehand. And so I definitely felt sick, but I got nowhere near that illness. And so what I had was extra stuff with me, so I gave it out to as many as I could.
Right.
And they respond so much faster. And other people literally were sick and had to go home as sick and go to their doctors and deal with it that way. But there's no doubt you can harness the power of nature. And that's what the NutriMedical line is doing, is going, hey, look, there's so many cool things that you can do to make your immune system operate more efficiently without stressing the system, without using more antibiotics or anything like that can, throw us off balance. It's so wonderful. And so I can't say enough about things like Living Probiotic and Living Probiotic Ultra and things like NutriImmune. Those two, I mean, seriously, I don't know where you're going in the world, right. But those are two of the best things you could possibly have, whether it's going to eat your mother-in-law's cooking or to another country, to help people in a poverishly ridden area. These are things you must take with you, and they're really wonderful.
Right. I think of them as, I remember reading some history about Leonardo da Vinci, and he was not only a bit of a chemist, but an inventor. He actually invented a lot of military machines, but he also was very into paints. In fact, one of the things that makes the Mona Lisa so unique is he used what's called infrared paints, so that you can actually, if you take an infrared picture, you'll see the 3D highlights of the actual picture. It's actually the first painting in history that was actually painted in 3D infrared. Interesting, hey? Well, what he did also is the same way. If you have the painting colors of advanced NutriMeds, and by the way, what I wanted is to get through to people, don't be a Google genius. Don't think you can go online and you're going to figure it out or on your own, or you're going to go to an allopathic doctor, one who's taken a smattering of training in functional medicine. That could be a chiropractor, naturopath doctor, whatever. Functional medicine is much broader than that. It includes everything from imaging studies to genetics to epigenetics to toxicology to infectious disease. None of these doctors has, unless they belong to our academies of anti-aging, environmental advancement of medicine, has any training or experience to know how to deal with this. So I want people to understand that. Please do not second guess Dr. Deagle. Don't. I will train your doctor on a specific condition. In fact, I'm training doctors now all over the world, and I do it case by case. So if they have a tough case, they can send a case to me, and I'll review it for them. But you have to understand, I'm the professor. Do not second guess me. Give me an example. Prostate cancer. You want to prevent prostate cancer? You want to take prostate flow, xenoestrogen detox, and hormone synergy, because hormones cause the gland to not only enlarge, but you also want to take things that are anti-cancer, like malignant block, which is sulforaphane glycosinolate, ellagic acid, the full vitamin K2 and power C. Minoquinone 7 is an anti-cancer. We call it an apoptogenic agent that makes the cells either repair the DNA the same way as malignant block. People think, well, how does prostate cancer happen? You have xenoestrogens, which are xenotoxins, and if you don't take something to chelate those xenotoxins out of the body, they are going to eventually accumulate in the prostate. Now, what people should understand is that there's a tie-in with dysbiosis and lower bowel. And I found this out back when I was doing my biochemistry PhD training back in the early 70s. And some of the other biochemists were doing research on gut dysbiosis, and they discovered that there's deconjugating bacteria in your lower colon that actually take toxins your liver's already conjugated, and they deconjugate them again. So they re-release them into your body, and they bioconcentrate in target organs like your prostate, your liver, your brain, your pancreas. So probiotics, you mentioned already, living probiotic, ultra berberstatin, and allicin med. These are very important to make sure you knock off these deconjugating bacteria, because what they do is they re-release toxins that will give you cancer. So let's talk about prostate for a minute. Xenoestrogen detox, prostate flow, Vision Max, the protective antioxidants, and Vision Max, believe it or not, we didn't want to make the name Vision Max Prostate Max. It would just sound silly, like, why am I taking a prostate pill for my eyes for women? But the fact is, it's the exact same nutraceuticals in the Vision Max to protect your prostate from prostate cancer, along with NutriDefense, which I have designed, that has a polyphenol. The research in Japan has shown that in 20 years, the people who took the dosage I recommend for polyphenol, not one case of prostate cancer occurred. This is in thousands and thousands of cases. So let's go through xenoestrogen detox, Vision Max, prostate flow, etc. in terms of prostate health, because it's a big problem. Men, by the time they're 40s and 50s, now are getting into trouble. By the time they're 70, they have a chance of less than 1 in 2 of getting prostate cancer.
Yeah. Well, let me hit that xenoestrogen detox if I could real quick, Dr. Bill, because its application is so important for everybody. The fact is our environment is challenging our bodies, and we know this. We've grown up now, we live, and we've been inundated in a chemical-related age where the substance that people worry about, scientifically and the effect on the body are these xenoestrogens. They very much concern people because they mimic what kind of hormones we naturally have in our body, but the fact is, when they mimic it, they can push our bodies too far in one direction because there's no balance there because we're just getting exposed to it. And we get exposed to this stuff. Everybody knows about the, BPA-free, don't let your baby have a bottle that has BPA in it, or your drinking bottle. Probably if I looked at everybody's desk, wherever they're sitting or in their car, they're like, you're probably staying away from plastic a lot of times. Why? Because of this xenoestrogens, or fuels, the smell that you get from those, or clothing, or all this stuff is off-gassing, pesticides. Even the medications that many people take are laced with xenoestrogen, and so your body's overwhelmed by it.
Right.
Xenoestrogen detox is really designed to help the body to filter, normally through liver filtration. As you were talking about, it's got special substances in it like calcium D-glucarate designed to neutralize that reabsorption, as you were talking about in the gut, Dr. Bell, where packaged up estrogens are supposed to be leaving. And they can get deconjugated and reabsorbed. This formulation is designed to protect that from happening, and many other attributes. But the thing is, it's applicable from really teenagers on up into the elderly, because we're all getting exposed to these things. And one of the top fears that anybody has, besides losing their mind, is really getting something like cancer. And so protecting ourselves and knowing that we're under constant bombardment, so use something like this on a regular basis. And when people ask the question, well, what's a great antioxidant to take? I would point you in this direction, because this one also contains the ingredients that you find in one of the top-selling formulas in the NUTRIMED line, known as Regenerex. Regenerex has the combination of sulforaphane glucosinolates, the methylated resveratrol, the green tea, the curcuminoids, all wrapped up into a product. Well, those are in xenoestrogen detox. So there's no need to necessarily duplicate those. And that's another good reason why this one would be used.
Now, the next area I think would be benign prostate hypertrophy. People need to realize it's the xenotoxins that you're getting rid of that stimulate the gland. Also, if you have excessive production of estrogenic molecules, it turns out that most of the prostate gland swelling is actually caused when male hormones are converted to female, which is why if males start taking excessive forms of injectable male hormone, they may convert to female. And actually, the German term is called Ergenlagen, and the actual tissue in the embryo that converts the uterus in females into the prostate in males. If you have female hormone excess because your body's got too much of either topical transdermal testosterone or injection, you're going to convert to female and make the prostate gland swell. The other is infection, and I recommend you want to penetrate by the biofilm. The Allison Med is one of my favorites because it'll get fungi, bacteria, mycobacteria, and also things like trichomonas. Most people don't realize Trichomonas vaginalis, which affects the vagina in females, also affects the epididymitis in males and chronic prostatitis. Chronic prostatitis can be a trichomonad-induced infection, or it can be induced by urea plasmum and urea lyticum, and then typical antibiotics won't touch these at all, will they?
No.
No, not at all.
No, they won't. That's the story you hear, though, more and more all over the place. Antibiotics aren't going to touch many things.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I'd like to touch on next is heart failure. We talked about this because it comes up often, and a lot of people either want an instant fix or they don't realize it requires layers, depending on how advanced the disease is. I ask people if they do a consultation with me to send me their transesophageal echo study or CT scan of their heart, to send me their cardiac index and other information if they have a heart problem, and I can determine if they have, what stage of disease they have. The start is basically congestive heart failure is a mitochondrial illness, and many of the illnesses that we talk about, including diabetes, are basically the end stage is actually mitochondriopathy, whether it's peripheral neuropathy developing in the nerves, or heart failure, or renal dysfunction. A lot of the problem is mitochondrial. So the first thing is we recommend, of course, our cardiovascular, but we want people on Supernox to generate nitric oxide, Bio-LVR, and the Minerals Plus and Vitamineral Max, as well as ultrathymine B1 to generate hydrobiopterin. If they don't have the trace minerals present in these, Vitamineral Max and the tetrahydrobiopterin and in the Bio-LVR, they're not going to be able to generate the nitric oxide, and also if they don't have the trace minerals, they're going to have free radical damage in their blood vessel walls. That's where our Omega Supreme Krill comes in with astaxanthin, 2,000 micrograms compared to Mega Red's 17 micrograms per soft gel. And we, of course, use our carnitine, our VascuCare carnitine, but let's talk about CoQ10 and CoQ10 ubiquinol. If somebody has heart failure, why do they think their doctor knows what they're doing when they give them a statin drug that interferes with CoQ10? Why do they think their doctor knows when they don't deal with the fact their heart failure is a mitochondriopathy? Why do they think that taking a diuretic alone, which depletes further minerals that can cause decreased heart function, is going to fix the problem? And they often will chase it with potassium and magnesium, but they don't give them the optimal forms that won't cause bowel problems. A lot of time they'll give potassium, but they very rarely will give actual levels of magnesium to maintain heart function and counteract the excessive activity of calcium. It's just wrong-headed, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about heart failure. Supernox, CoQ10 ubiquinol, Gamma E Plus to stop the peroxy radicals in the blood vessel walls, the Omega Supreme Krill. These are all really important. Bein Away, which of course is important for the vessel wall healing, extremely important.
Yeah, that's a neat one. Just in the sense that you can kind of look at your own body, your family history. If you're seeing things like spider veins, varicosities. Obviously varicose veins you think of more as female, but you can see also the rope-like vein issues with guys too that can build up as well. These are warning signs. These are dashboard lights turning on. Hemorrhoids is another one. People think it's just some kind of benign, innocuous thing that happens to them once in a while, but it is a warning sign that says, hey, I'm having problems, and it can be related to the venous insufficiencies. CVI, or chronic venous insufficiency, is a rating system that the body gets depending on how it's breaking down. And literally, these implications lead to cardiovascular related issues. And so the neat thing about Bein Away is it's not just for the veins; it's for the whole vascular system. And it's a really neat substance that's derived from the sweet orange. Actually, the white material out of the orange is what's processed down to actually create this material known as diosmine. And this is something that's sold as a medication in Europe, but it's available here in the United States as a therapeutic version, just similar to it. And when you can use this formulation, you can really have an impact. So people that have heavy legs, the restless type legs, they do see the varicoses, the hemorrhoids, kidney function can be limited. They've had great clinical trials where they show kidney issues with albumin filtration rates doing a tremendous recovery by making sure that this substance is being included in the diet. And it's just a couple pills a day, very small amount.
It's just amazing, isn't it? Amazing how something this simple can make such a dramatic difference. We have all kinds of people all over the world that we say, we pulled them out of heart failure, we pulled them out of severe hypertension, we've reversed their renal dysfunction so they're off dialysis, we've stopped neuropathy, and they're on stupid drugs like some of these drugs like Lyrica. Do they understand what Lyrica is going to do to them and make them a zombie? These are zombie drugs, the Night of the Living Dead, it's just terrible. Many of these drugs, by the way, that are put out there, give an example, most people think about Goldman Sachs and the big monies that are given to Hillary Clinton for speaking to Goldman Sachs, but she gets as big or bigger amounts of money to big pharma about drugs that are actually very deadly and have a body count drugs, I call them. And so Hillary Rotten, I call the Hildebeest, is out there collecting from the drug companies, showing tactics of how they can continue to poison us with polypharmacy and continue your doctors keep them in the dark.
Imagine a pill that can improve your focus, your memory, your sleep. A catalyst to improve your...
All kinds of things to try to help heal people. When we talk about things like trying to repair people's mitochondrial function, and again, the same thing goes in the brain. For example, most people miss this, and I've mentioned this many, many times. Alzheimer's has multiple factors involved in it, but the primary thing is a mitochondrial function of the astrocytes caused by insulin resistance, and because of that, it basically is diabetes of the brain, or type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's disease. So we want to have things like Cognition Plus and brain power. We want to have things that will stimulate the brain myelination, such as our Omega Supreme Krill. And you want to increase neurotransmitter levels with Minerals Plus. And you want to get the brain calmed down and protected from oxidative stress with Brain Mag and Calm Mind. We want to increase neurotransmitter levels with ultrathymine B1, CDP or cytidine, choline, and uridine. If you're a slow accelerator, you want to have the triacetyl uridine, or you can take uridine 300. To me, it's amazing that people don't understand when they have grandma, they give her Aricept when all the actual controlled studies show it helps 30% of people for as little as 2 weeks, and it actually accelerates the neurodegenerative changes in the brain and it induces what's called the butyrylcholinesterase enzymes. And when I interact with doctors who pretend they're experts on this area, I like to ask them questions because, I do what I call mixed mental martial arts. I like to do what's called a double chokehold on them and compress on what I call the neurological carotid arteries to their brain to have them stop pretending that they know what they're talking about. And it doesn't matter what specialty they are, and I don't act like I'm arrogant, I act like I'm informed. Do these so-called doctors understand the neuroscience of why they're treating people with toxic drugs like serotonin reuptake inhibitors, like, antidepressants with people's peripheral neuropathy? Do they know how to actually reverse the peripheral neuropathy? I do. They don't. It's disturbing, isn't it? We already know that the use of ultrathymine B1 is amazing. You can't even metabolize sugar or get your mitochondria to work without the fat-soluble form of thiamine. What's wrong with these doctors? Are they out of their mind? What's wrong with them? And I don't have any tolerance anymore. I'm old enough now and persnickety enough. I used to, when I was younger, I used to hide it and think, I better not say anything to these guys. They're so-called top specialists. I don't give a damn right now. They need to listen up and listen up hard, because I'm going to inform their patients and anybody out there that wants to listen, because I have the research studies, we have the data now. It's no longer open to anybody's damned opinion. The fact is, the science is there, isn't it?
It sure is. And there's not any excuse.
No excuse at all. Yeah, no excuse. And the doctors that are smart, by the way, there's a lot of them, they're starting to get their toes into functional medicine. When I go to conferences like the one in November, 3/4 of the meetings are all meetings for intro to get doctors started in functional medicine. A few of the meetings are more advanced, where we get doctors that are doing research papers. Like I'm going to do one on the quantum biology of aging, enzyme induction, for example. If you don't have the minerals present, like with our Vitamin Mineral Max Minerals Plus, which are tracks amino acid chelated minerals, this is an award-winning system for getting minerals into your body by having them chelated to proteins, so they're not dependent on ionic transport. If you don't have the trace minerals in your system, why do you expect to turn on the genes to actually make structural proteins and enzymes? Are people delusional? Do they understand the biochemical principle that without the minerals, that is the number one step in actual anti-aging or cellular functional medicine? No minerals, no enzymes, no structural proteins. It doesn't occur. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. What a difference, filling in a nutritional gap can make. Right. The examples that most people are aware of, right? Just something like folate and saying you can prevent birth defects like spina bifida, and yet people they're shocked when they hear that other things like a small amount of nutrient can help with many other areas. You're like, shouldn't that be logical? I mean, that should be step one, right? And so, I want to make a call out, Dr. Bill, though, that everybody thinks about something as foundational as Vitamin Mineral Max, because most people, especially listening to your show, about it's 9 out of 10, take some form of a multivitamin mineral, and a lot of times they're not active. Garbage, not activated hormones. They're not bioavailable.
Yeah, they're not absorbable. They're not in the activated state, so they don't work. They are covered with carnivoax and so on. We call them latrine bullets. That's what the guys that clean out latrines, they call them. So they're not vitamins. You can actually read the writing on the outside of the tablet because they don't dissolve in your body.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Welcome back. One of the things that I discovered some years ago, and this is pretty interesting, is all disease has 3 common characteristics: hypoxia, acidosis, free radicals. When you have those circumstances, you tend to build up toxins because you're in a low redox state, and you grow stealth pathogens. One of the most important things, and Linus Pauling discovered this, and he received a number of Nobel Prizes, is Power C. And I tell people, if you have a serious inflammatory condition, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, peripheral neuropathy, you need to max out the vitamins, the Power C. Now, normal vitamin C, you cannot max more than 500 milligrams. You're going to get explosive diarrhea. Ours, you will not, because it's the only neutral vitamin C in the world, because it is a salt of calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, ascorbate with biopera and black pepper extract to increase absorption by 40 to 50%. So although it says on the capsule, it's like, I think 750 milligrams, effectively you're getting like 1.5 grams of vitamin C every capsule. And when you take that dosage and you go up to say, hey, I'm going to take 18 grams and open up the capsules and make a smoothie 3 times a day, and you've got cancer cannot grow that many electrons. That's what Dr. Linus Pauling called vitamin C liquid electrons. And when you put electrons in your cytochromes, your cells and tissues cannot be in an acid state. When I see somebody on a QRMA test, or if they do a urine test and their body is very acid, it's a breeding ground for any illness you can imagine. And when you take that dosage of Power C, you cannot promote any illness. It's amazing. It just shuts everything off. It's literally, you don't need to go wipe out your immune system if you're trying to actually turn off disease. You take malignant arrest, high-dose Power C, full of vitamin K2, ellagic acid, and malignant block, sulforaphane glycosinolate, and the cancer or autoimmune disease just goes, it stops. It just stops cold. You add a ketogenic dial and maybe add mild hyperbaric oxygen, and you amplify it even further. But Power C by itself, it's amazing, whether it's diabetic peripheral neuropathy, cataracts. We now know, for example, cataracts is basically a subclinical deficiency of vitamin C. Did you know that? Cataracts are simply a vitamin C deficiency in the body, ascorbic acid. Interesting, eh?
Well, this balance of onslaught of antioxidants and free radicals, is what really gets uncovered here, and just the power of certain substances, like vitamin C, as you're saying, and
right.
Make sure you're able to get it into your body is one of the critical things about vitamin C. And again, that goes back to make sure you're using the right brands. That
right. Well, if you don't use our dosage, you can't possibly get a dosage high enough. And the stupidest thing I've ever heard is this thing called Codex Alimentarius. This is an evil scheme by a bunch of crazy bastards. And there's no other nice word for it. I think it's a good idea to give minuscule dosages of, say, vitamin D or vitamin C or anything that will maybe not prevent an overt case of, let's say, scurvy, where your tissues and old wounds start to pop open. But basically, a lot of illnesses we have are mineral deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies, and the inability to even activate vitamins. So if you don't take the activated form, there's no damn way you're going to counteract the illness. Like, for example, if you're diabetic, if you don't have adequate levels of thiamine, you can't stop developing eventually peripheral neuropathy. You can't stop blood vessel vascular disease. You can't stop what we call brain on fire, BOF we call it. Why do people, the reason is doctors are completely ignorant. If I start asking doctors, specialists or general doctors, MDs, chiros, whatever, specific technical questions about the biochemistry of why the specific illness is present, including why people have got spinal subluxations in their spine or muscle imbalances or peripheral neuropathy, their eyes glass over and they get really, upset. Sometimes they'll start to get nasty, but, getting nasty with Dr. Deagle is not a wise thing to do, because I'll just kind of, I call you floor you, put you down in a chokehold mentally, because I don't believe in being nice. Niceness means I'm going to lie to you and pretend that somehow you have a right to an opinion when you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And unfortunately, the professions, and we're talking about all of the professions, have a major hole in their knowledge base as to exactly why illness occurs. It doesn't matter if it's chiropractic, naturopathy, medical, allopathic, intensive care, surgery. It's just sickening. And I'm there to try to counteract that sickening thing. In the 21st century, my books and references and material I teach in the academies are going to change this damn thing, along with thousands of other doctors that belong to our academies around the world that are trying to change it too. We have, I think, 32,000 doctors in our Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. We have I think 6,000 doctors in our either director or affiliates in our Academy of Environmental Medicine. We've got 80,000 doctors in our Academy of Advancement of Medicine. There's just no excuse for why people think that they know better when they're not trained. A good example is looking at different fatty acids, Omega Supreme Krill. People say, well, what will this do for me? Well, if you take Omega Supreme, every vascular illness, including deep vein thrombosis, cardiac arrest, and problems with calcification of the arteries, is cut dramatically in half. But if you take Omega Supreme Krill, the term I like to use is take 2 of these little red soft gels twice a day and call me in a century when you're 100 years old. That's how powerful Omega Supreme Krill is at stopping vascular disease, brain on fire, and regenerating solid organs. It's like, does their doctor tell them how important Omega Supreme is? Of course not. Does it tell them that they don't need, they can take, instead of statin drugs, just to make a cod liver liquid, and they don't need to ever take a statin drug? No, they don't tell them that. They don't talk about doing electrophoresis of their lipids to actually look at the lipid electrophoresis, because the most dangerous fraction is not VLDL cholesterol, it's small particle HDL. But does their doctor know that? How many cardiologists do you think I've talked to or internists that know the small particle HDL is the deadliest fraction? Zero. And you know why? Because they did research with a top cardiologist on lipid electrophoresis that did research on this and proved that the most dangerous particle is small particle HDL, but you don't see it on NMR spectroscopy. And if you don't take the right nutraceuticals, because there are no drugs to change HDL, you can't fix it. But we can. So, Ryan, let's talk about omega fatty acids and omega cod liver liquid.
Well, you got to have the right building blocks. Right? And a lot of people's diets, obviously, are missing some of these building blocks. We can see it, as you're saying, high rates of cardiovascular disease and other dysfunction in our bodies. And to say, just like a nutrient deficiency, we look at this as a structural deficiency with these fatty acids. You got to have them to build every organ in our bodies. And so we know that the research is very strong on EPA and DHA that come from fish oil, or like derived from krill that also has other benefits. So things like Omega Supreme is one of the top formulations to go to due to its pure strength. and its purity. Because when you do take fish oils, you want to make sure that obviously they're extremely clean, no concerns with things like mercury or heavy metals or rancidification, and that's what you're going to get with the NutriMedical line. Most potent, most clean formula you can get.
Well,
the Omega Supreme...
Yeah, a lot of the fatty acids, by the way, if they're oxidized, they're going to cause damage. They're going to cause macrophages to die and become foam cells, which form plaque. So if you have really clean oil with no heavy metals and no solvents, you're promoting health, not promoting death.
Right. And they have things like, some of these things going through their processing, high heat and stuff like that. You may have removed a heavy metal, but at the same time you trigger things like, certain levels of malondialdehyde or something like that, which would be really not a great substance to put in your body. So for some of these cheap forms that you're like, well, it's inexpensive, I'm telling you, for the benefits you're looking for, in many cases, you are probably putting stuff in there that just doesn't belong and is actually delaying your healing because it's really not built well. And here you are thinking and paying for a product that you think is going to do the right thing for your body. And that's, again, why you leave the expertise to Dr. Bill. Let him analyze what it is that he's bringing in so that he can recommend the right things for people, because otherwise you're really just, a lot of times wasting resources and creating frustration.
Right. Now, UCLA's latest study 6 weeks ago showed that 69% of adults over 30 are borderline or frankly diabetic with the new criteria. Most people don't realize the vast majority of the population, 85% of adults over 30, are hypometabolic, which is we call mostly type 2 hypothyroidism, or they may have what we call post-viral or nutrient deficiency induced hypothyroidism. And a lot of my listeners will just take Nutridyne. That's going to work on borderline minor problems, but if you have hypothyroidism, you need to be on mitothyroid, you need to take Minerals Plus and selenium cruciferate. And if you don't take the additional things like mitothyroid, you're going to actually make yourself get into more trouble. And I've had people that are stubborn, and their body temperature drops, they start developing signs of hypothyroidism, and they don't realize, yes, you want our Nutridyne, which is monoatomic Tesla activated iodine, because it's far superior to the diatomic. If you take regular garbage iodine, like the stuff that's sold over at Alex Jones or somewhere else, you're going to actually induce hypothyroidism. Because, and this is in the published literature, taking excess iodine without selenium and the trace minerals will shut down 5'-deiodinase. I've been doing work on this for a third of a century, and then people think they can second-guess me. It makes me mad. Why the hell do they think they know? And I don't care if they're an endocrinologist. It doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I brought the test from Germany 36 years ago with the head of pathology for reverse thyroid hormone, and I've done tests on these things for years, and I can tell you, people that pretend that they think they know this don't. And hypometabolism is a major problem that will cause any kind of disease you can imagine, vascular disease, dementia, set you up for stealth pathogens to grow yeast in your gut like Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It'll trigger off celiac disease or trigger off something more nasty like, ulcerative colitis or full-blown colon cancer. It's insane. So mitothyroid is very important. Can you talk about this for a minute, Ryan? Because I think people should start understanding that thyroid is extremely common. Adrenal dysfunction is extremely common. And again, they're like the two horses pulling the plow of life. If your thyroid is starting to go funky, you're going to put excess stress on your adrenals. If your adrenals go elevated, it's going to push up your blood insulin and make you get lipid disorders or get fat or turn diabetic. So there's a direct tie-in with these things, isn't there? Yeah,
and the balance that needs to be had. So, there's thyroid dysfunction, as we've talked about many times, and something like mitothyroid, I like to point out that the balance of the formulation makes it unique, because you have this hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, this kind of three horses pulling, if you will, and just by trying to push on one side or whip, if you will, a horse, it doesn't mean you're making the system run better. You may actually make it, as you're kind of pointing out, Dr. Bell, less effective in the long run. And so using a balanced formulation like mitothyroid can really be a great solution for a lot of individuals, even those that have tried other things, because they don't come at it from the balanced, point of view.
Never take a
thyroid.
If your doctor is giving you Synthroid, levothyroxine, get away from your doctor, or number two, ask for permission for me to teach him. If they won't accept the teaching recommendations I'll give free, get away from them, okay, because they're dangerous to your future health. Things, for example, like trying to NutriComplete. This is one of my favorite, red and green drink. If you want all your veggies for you, your family, your kids, put a scoop of that in when you're mixing in with your glycemics or you're mixing with life support and ageless. in your drink in the morning. Let's talk about what's in NutriComplete. What makes it so unique?
Organic reds and greens. There's not a person out there that doesn't say, "Hey, I could probably use a little more support with regards to the organic fruits and vegetables that I'm consuming on a regular basis." And you would say, "Hey, if you could make it easier, I'd do it." Well, when it comes to NutriComplete, that's as easy as it's going to get. Really easy. It can go right into water. It tastes great. Or you can put it right into a shake. I personally love it with like glycemic meal. I don't know what it is, but that balance between the two just works really well for me.
Yeah.
And I love the flavor that it has.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to mix, easy to work with, and you've got long lasting, as we talked about, quenching free radicals with vitamin C. Vitamin C is a short acting antioxidant. Right, so you're going to take it on a regular basis, particularly if you're under a stressed situation. But there's substances in here like sulforaphane glucosinolates or goji berry, for example, that a lot of people don't understand the technology that's happening is, and there's a transition in science to understand that it's not just about donating an electron, making a substance powerful. Sulforaphane, which comes from broccoli, everybody knows broccoli is very powerful. Well, broccoli isn't powerful because it gives up its antioxidants. Broccoli is powerful because it ends up activating a system known as the NRF2 system, and that's a communication pathway that causes your own body, your own cells, to identify what it is, the challenge that it's facing, to activate things like antioxidant production, including glutathione S transferase, or to cause phase 2 upregulation of detox for the liver, or to regulate things like inflammatory cytokine balance going on so that, the body can manage what's going on more effectively. And the neat thing is those substances like goji or sulforaphane or some of the others that I talked about, they actually last a long time, days in the body, not hours. And so, again, that makes it a really wise choice to use as your greens and reds drinks over some of the other things that are in the market.
Another is, of course, our capsule of Anti-Age Max. Anti-Age Max is pretty amazing in terms of anti-aging, strengthening the ASSERT1 genes for telomere lengthening, preventing fatty acid oxidation and cholesterol oxidation. People don't realize it's the oxidized fatty acids and cholesterol that are the primary nidus to form plaque. And besides cleaning out the heavy metals with things like Keeler Max and our liquid zeolite, Keeler Max #1, you've got to prevent the cholesterol and the fatty acids from being oxidized, and Anti-Age Max will do that. Another is magnesium products. We've got magnesium potassium citrate and magnesium glycinate. These are amazing. These magnesium potassium citrate is the best way to get your potassium because you need adequate magnesium. You won't hold on to it. But also this particular form will stop formation of gallstones and kidney stones, along with bioLVR to stop the uric acid stones forming, because uric acid and homocysteine you defeat with bioLVR, samethyl, power methyl B12, and superfolate. So most people aren't aware that homocysteine is one of the major risk factors, or high uric acid, for heart disease. And if you don't do a methylation challenge with 500 milligrams of L-methionine and amino acids the night before, your blood test can miss 2/3 of the cases of people that actually have homocysteine surges after a high methionine meal. And they don't know that. And the average doctor doesn't have any clue that you need an L-methionine and methyl challenge to your body's metabolic systems to show the elevation of uric acid and homocysteine. And if you're listening out there and you do functional medicine and you don't know this, I'll teach you how to do the test. But if you don't do it properly, you miss 2/3 of the people that are at risk. Big deal, isn't it?
Sure is.
So let's talk about Mega Muscles. And we had somebody wanted to know how to mix it. I like to mix it with Sports Energy Light and the Brain Mag. That's my favorite drink. In fact, I have a glass of it right now. Mega Muscles, Sports Energy Light, and Brain Mag. That is an amazing sport drink, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm so with you on those. I love taking those, especially in the early afternoon, kind of range where I'm like, man, I'm going to go, get my workout in and stuff like that. Sports Energy Light, holy cow, people. This is a really good alternative for a lot of the, people listening out there that either are addicted to coffee, find themselves going back and back to the pot, kind of refill it, keep their energy levels up so their focus is there, their clarity is there. Or they may be using Rockstars, Red Bulls, 5-Hour Energies, all these things that are basically caffeine-laden versions that take you on a roller coaster ride. You know what I'm talking about. You take it, feels great. Hour and a half later, you're sunk. Even the 5-Hour Energy products that guarantee, or they don't guarantee, they just say that it can last 5 hours. They don't have the human clinical research on it.
Yeah, by the way, that roller coaster burns out your adrenal glands and stresses your autonomic nervous system trying to keep your energy level up. So The Sports Energy Light Drink with the Mega Muscles and the Brain Mag is an awesome mixture. It tastes great, keeps your energy up, and doesn't make you burn out your adrenal glands, and raises you up nicely, keeps you up there, protects you from oxidative stress, keeps your electrolytes perfect. If you want to heal, the convergences, and again, I like to use this with my functional medicine approach. Functional medicine includes regular allopathic medicine, chiropractic, herbology, toxicology, intermediate metabolism, infectious disease, pathology, quantum physics, imaging studies, radiology, genetics, epigenetics. I mean, it includes everything. So that when we look at that armamentarium, it crosses every specialty, including quantum biology. And people have to understand that functional medicine is king. I mean, it absorbs and has validative technology in every area of healing, every area. One of the other areas that I think we should kind of touch on is the area of cancer and autoimmune disease. Malignant arrest, malignant block, full vitamin K2 power C example. Malignant arrest is very important. What I discovered about 6 years ago is that the same metabolic processes that cause cancer are the same processes that cause autoimmune disease. And when you use high-dose power C along with malignant arrest, which shuts down the hexose monophosphate shunt and shuts off the anaerobic metabolism and sugar metabolism of tumors and tissues that are going, we call autoimmune. When a tissue goes autoimmune, what it does is, because of the presence of toxins, stealth pathogens, and anaerobic metabolism, the stress cells start to go anaerobic, and when they go anaerobic, they require sugar only. They start to change the cell surface proteins or antigens, and those protein antigens actually make the immune system attack them. Whether it's a joint in your knees, because you've got Mycoplasma hominis incognita that's now causing your cells to be stressed and they go anaerobic. High-dose power C can help that, whether it's MS or autoimmune lupus erythematosus, or you've got mixed connective tissue disease, or some migratory myositis rheumatica. Power C is very important, but malignant arrest, let's talk about this for a minute. Anaerobic metabolism is one of the sine qua nons of the basis for autoimmune disease and cancer. So this is developed by Dr. Sven Georgi, the Hungarian biochemist, and it's very effective when combined with these other nutraceuticals to help the body shut off autoimmune conditions and cancer.
It's fascinating research that's been done on that material for many decades. Fermented wheat germ extract that's been purified down into substances known as benzoquinones, but technically it's like, well, that's overwhelming, but you don't have to worry about that. As you're saying, this has an immune system kind of regulation principle to it. It also has the ability to unmask cells that are kind of hiding from our immune system, so you can think about the implications with that, and also the ability to inhibit certain forms of cancer cells to at least not be able to utilize glucose or sugar at its high normal rate, which is generally 30 to 50 times higher than that of a normal cell, which allows them to accelerate their growth and obviously start moving into areas they shouldn't and do destructive behavior to us.
Exactly. In other words, if you take this, and we have, listen, I'm amazed at how a number of people will basically say, Dr. Daigle, I'm just going to believe you to take these nutraceuticals only. I'm not going to an alternative cancer clinic. I'm not going to do a gene-based cancer treatment. I'm just going to take these. And I can't tell you how many cases that we've had people that just take our nutraceuticals for cancer, and their cancer goes into remission. So, you know, we have some amazing 7-star nutraceuticals that if you take them, as they say, don't be a Google genius. Don't think you can second-guess Dr. Daigle. I'll connect to the top clinics in the world to help you with additional things you might need if you need to go all the way to level 5 or 6. But many people will just, with the basic protocols, get remarkably better, whether it's diabetes, neuropathy, heart failure, hypertension, cognitive function, depression, cardiac arrhythmias. We can help you with virtually any health condition without toxic polypharmacy.